Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Whisper. Jacob Hutchins had built his life on certainty. At 52, he owned Hutchins Construction, a company his father started in a garage 40 years ago that now employed 63 people across 3 counties. His hands, calloused and strong, had framed houses, poured foundations, and shaken on deals worth millions. Those same hands now gripped a shopping cart in Henderson's Market, trembling for the first time in decades. Jacob? Oh, Jacob, I'm so sorry. Rachel Dunbar had appeared beside him in the cereal aisle, her face painted with exaggerated sympathy. She was Joyce's friend from book club, always dressed like she was attending a funeral. Black cardigan, pearl necklace, that particular expression of pity that made his skin crawl. Sorry about what? Jacob asked, reaching for his usual brand of coffee. Rachel's eyes widened. She touched his arm gently, like he might shatter. About your condition. Sherry told Joyce, and Joyce told all of us. We're just heartbroken. You're so young for Alzheimer's. She lowered her voice to a whisper. But I want you to know, we're all here for you and Joyce. Whatever you both need. The coffee can slip from Jacob's hand, hitting the linoleum with a hollow thud that echoed through the aisle. What did you say? Oh dear. Rachel picked up the can, her movements overly careful, as if demonstrating patience for a confused child. It's okay to forget things. That's why Sherry's been so worried. She told everyone at the neighborhood watch meeting last week. We all think she's so brave, taking care of her father like this. The fluorescent lights above seemed too bright. Jacob's daughter, 28-year-old Sherry, had been living with them for 6 months since her temporary setback. That's what she called losing her marketing job in the city. His daughter, telling people he had Alzheimer's disease. I don't have Alzheimer's, Jacob said slowly, clearly. There's nothing wrong with my memory. Rachel's expression shifted to something worse than pity, disbelief mixed with concern. Of course, dear. Joyce mentioned the denial phase. It's perfectly normal. She patted his shoulder. You should probably finish your shopping. Do you need help finding your way home? Jacob left his cart in the middle of the aisle and walked out. In his truck, he sat gripping the steering wheel, his reflection in the rearview mirror showing a face he barely recognized. Not from disease, but from shock. His eyes were clear. His mind was sharp. He could remember every detail. His social security number, his first job at 14, the exact profit margins from last quarter, Joyce's birthday, their anniversary, the day Sherry was born at 3:47 a.m. on a snowy February morning. He didn't have Alzheimer's, but his daughter was telling everyone he did. Why? The answer came to him as he drove home, pieces clicking together with terrible clarity. 3 months ago, Sherry had suggested he slow down, maybe retire early. 2 months ago, she'd asked detailed questions about his estate planning, about the business succession plan. Last month, she'd introduced her new boyfriend, Mitchell Christian, a smooth-talking investment consultant who'd immediately started talking about protecting assets and future planning. And just last week, Sherry had asked him to sign some papers, just updates to the business insurance, she'd said. He'd been in the middle of a conference call and had waved her off. She'd seemed irritated. Jacob pulled into his driveway in the quiet neighborhood where he'd lived for 23 years. The 2-story colonial he'd built with his own crew. The lawn he mowed every Saturday. The basketball hoop where he'd taught Sherry to shoot free throws. His daughter was trying to destroy him. Chapter 2. The Neighborhood Canvas. Jacob didn't go inside. Instead, he sat in his truck for 20 minutes, forcing his breathing to steady, his mind to sharpen. Panic wouldn't help. Anger wouldn't help. He needed information. At 4:30 p.m., he started walking the neighborhood. Stan Lake lived 3 houses down, a retired police sergeant who'd moved in 5 years ago. They had a standing agreement. Jacob plowed Stan's driveway in winter. Stan kept an eye on the neighborhood. Stan was in his garage, organizing fishing gear, when Jacob approached. Jacob, Stan's smile was genuine but guarded. How are you holding up? That depends, Jacob said. What have you heard? Stan set down a tackle box. Your daughter stopped by last Tuesday. Said you've been having episodes. Wandering at night, forgetting where you were. She asked me to call her if I saw you out alone after dark. Said it was for your safety. He paused. I'm sorry, man. That's a rough diagnosis. I don't have Alzheimer's, Stan. I've never wandered anywhere. What else did she say? Stan's expression hardened. 25 years on the force had taught him to spot a con. She cried. Said you wouldn't accept treatment. That Joyce was in denial. She asked if I'd testify to your erratic behavior if it came to that. Said it might be necessary for your own protection. Testify. Jacob's jaw clenched. Legal proceedings? Conservatorship? Maybe? She didn't say explicitly. Stan crossed his arms. Jacob, level with me. What's going on? That's what I'm trying to find out. He hit 4 more houses before sunset. The story was consistent, calculated, and devastating. Eunice Wagner, the elderly widow next door, had been told Jacob had aggressive outbursts and might be dangerous. She'd started locking her doors during the day for the first time in 40 years. Perry Brock, 2 streets over, said Sherry had mentioned Jacob's declining business decisions and hinted the company might be in financial trouble due to his impaired judgment. Yvonne Maxwell, who ran the neighborhood watch, revealed Sherry had been attending meetings for 3 months, carefully building a narrative. Her father's memory lapses, his confusion about dates, his paranoid accusations against family members, all classic symptoms. By the time Jacob returned home, the streetlights were flickering on. Through the kitchen window, he could see Joyce preparing dinner, Sherry setting the table, both moving in domestic harmony. It looked perfect. It looked like a lie. He found his wife in the kitchen. Joyce turned when he entered, her familiar smile warm but strained. 50 years old, still beautiful, still the woman he'd married 29 years ago. But there was something in her eyes now. Worry, maybe guilt. You're home late, Joyce said. Sherry made pot roast. Joyce, do you think I have Alzheimer's? The wooden spoon in her hand clattered into the sink. What? No. Jacob, what are you? Because apparently everyone else in the neighborhood does. Rachel Dunbar offered to help me find my way home from the grocery store. Stan Lake is prepared to testify about my erratic behavior. Our neighbors are locking their doors because Sherry told them I'm dangerous. Joyce's face drained of color. That's not. She wouldn't. Wouldn't she? Jacob's voice was quiet, controlled. What did she start talking to you about my memory? About me forgetting things? Joyce sank into a chair. 6 weeks ago. She said you'd forgotten a meeting. Then she mentioned you'd asked her the same question twice. Little things. I told her everyone forgets sometimes, but she seemed so concerned. Her voice trailed off. Oh God, Jacob, what is she doing? Before he could answer, Sherry walked in, Mitchell Christian behind her. His daughter looked fresh, innocent in jeans and a sweater, her auburn hair pulled back. Mitchell wore an expensive suit, his smile practiced and empty. Dad, you're home. Sherry moved to hug him, but Jacob stepped back. I ran into Rachel Dunbar today. Sherry's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Oh, how is she? Very sympathetic about my Alzheimer's. The disease I don't have. The kitchen went silent. Mitchell's hand moved to Sherry's shoulder, a possessive gesture. Mr. Hutchins, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Don't. Jacob's voice cut like a blade. I've talked to the neighbors. All of them. I know exactly what's been said and by whom. Sherry's face crumpled. Tears came instantly, perfectly timed. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I've been so scared for you. The forgetfulness, the mood swings. I just wanted to make sure people were watching out for you. I didn't mean to upset you, but you won't go see a doctor and Mom won't make you, and I'm terrified of losing you. Stop, Joyce said quietly. Just stop, Sherry. The tears dried up faster than they'd appeared. For a moment, Jacob saw his daughter's real face, calculating, cold, cornered. We need to talk, Jacob said. The 3 of us. Mitchell, you can leave. I think I should stay, Mitchell said smoothly. As Sherry's partner, and as someone concerned about this family's well-being. Get out. Something in Jacob's tone made Mitchell reconsider. He squeezed Sherry's shoulder once, whispered something in her ear, and left for the front door. Jacob sat at the kitchen table, gestured for his wife and daughter to sit. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me why. All of it. And then we're going to figure out what happens next. Sherry looked at her mother, then at her father. The mask had fallen completely now. She sat, folded her hands, and smiled, a different smile than before. Sharper. You really want to know, Dad? Fine. You're sitting on a gold mine and wasting it. Hutchins Construction could be worth millions if properly managed. But you insist on staying small, on keeping the personal touch, on turning down expansion opportunities because you want to know every worker by name. It's pathetic. Joyce gasped. Jacob didn't move. Mitchell has investors ready. Real money. But they won't deal with you. You're too old-fashioned, too stubborn. So yes, I've been laying groundwork. Establishing that you're not competent to make business decisions. With the right medical evaluation, the right testimonies, I could get conservatorship. Then Mitchell and I could finally unlock this company's real potential. And me? Jacob asked quietly. What happens to me in this plan? Sherry shrugged. A nice facility. The best care. You'd be comfortable. You were going to have me committed. It wasn't a question. I was going to help you retire, Sherry corrected, and save a business you're running into the ground through sheer stubbornness. Jacob studied his daughter. When had she become this? Had she always been this, hidden behind Daddy's little girl smiles and Sunday dinners? Get out, he said finally. Pack your things. You have 1 hour. You can't kick me out. This is my childhood home. It's my house. You're an adult. You have 1 hour, or I call Stan Lake and have you removed for trespassing. Sherry stood, her face twisted with rage. You think you've won? I have 3 months of documentation. Witness statements. You think people will believe you over everyone I've convinced? You're finished, old man. With or without you, Mitchell and I are taking that company. She stormed upstairs. Joyce was crying silently. Jacob reached across the table and took his wife's hand. Did you know? He asked. No. I swear, Jacob. I thought. She seemed so concerned. I thought maybe you were forgetting things, and I just hadn't noticed. I thought I was being a bad wife for not seeing it. Joyce squeezed his hand. What are we going to do? Jacob looked up at the ceiling, hearing Sherry's footsteps above, slamming drawers, making her point with every noise. I'm going to destroy her, he said quietly. Her and Mitchell both. They want to play games with my mind, my business, my life? Fine. Let's play. Chapter 3. The Counterattack Blueprint. After Sherry left, slamming the door at 11:47 p.m. with 2 suitcases and a final venomous glare, Jacob sat in his study and made lists. Not emotional lists, not angry lists. Strategic ones. First, what they had on him. 3 months of carefully planted stories. Neighbors who'd been manipulated into believing they'd witnessed signs of decline. Maybe forged documentation. He bet Mitchell had access to medical letterhead, psych evaluation forms. Sherry had always been good at details, at planning. She got that from him. Second, what he knew, the truth. But truth was subjective when enough people believed the lie. Stan Lake believed him, but Stan was just one voice. Jacob needed more. Third, what he could do about it. This was where it got interesting. At 6 a.m., Jacob was at the office before any of his crew arrived. Hutchins Construction operated from a converted warehouse, half office space, half equipment storage. He bought the building outright 15 years ago. The deed was in his name alone. He called his lawyer, Andre Evans, who'd handled the business legal work for a decade. Jacob, it's 6 in the morning. I need you to do 3 things today. First, full medical workup. Complete cognitive eval, the works. I want documentation from real doctors that I'm sound of mind. Second, I need you to review every piece of paper I've signed in the last 6 months. Third, I need to know what it would take to make my business untouchable, trusts, protections, whatever it takes to ensure no one can claim it without my explicit, verified consent. Silence on the other end. Then, what's going on? Jacob told him everything. When he finished, Andre whistled low. That's attempted fraud. Possibly elder abuse, even at your age. We could prosecute. Not yet. I need to know what I'm protecting first, and I need to know what they've already done. Can you trace Mitchell Christian? Find out who he really is. I'll have a background check by end of day. The medical evaluation took 3 hours. Dr. Raymond Schneider and urologist Andre recommended. Put Jacob through cognitive tests, memory assessments, brain scans. At the end, Dr. Schneider's report was clear. Patient shows no signs of cognitive decline, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease. Mental acuity is above average for age demographic. Jacob had the report notarized and filed with Andre's office by noon. The background check on Mitchell Christian came back at 4 p.m. Jacob read it in his office, his anger crystallizing into something cold and focused. Mitchell Christian, born Mitchell Christian Burke, had changed his name 7 years ago after being involved in a real estate fraud scheme in Nevada. Charges were dropped due to lack of evidence, but the pattern was clear. He identified targets with assets, cultivated relationships, and convinced them to make poor financial decisions. 2 elderly victims had lost their homes. One had died in a state facility. He'd found Sherry 6 months ago at a networking event in the city. According to social media traces Andre's investigator had found, their relationship had started immediately, right before Sherry had conveniently lost her job and moved back home. It wasn't just greed, it was a con, and his daughter was either a willing participant or a victim herself. Jacob wasn't sure which was worse. That evening, he met with Stan Lake, Perry Brock, and 3 other neighbors at Perry's house. He brought them medical reports, printed copies of Mitchell's background check, and a simple request. "I need you to listen," Jacob said, "and I need you to trust what you've known about me for years versus what you've been told for 3 months." He laid it out methodically. The lies, the pattern, the motive. Stan was convinced immediately. Cop instincts. Perry took longer, but came around when he saw Mitchell's background. Yvonne Maxwell, who'd hosted Sherry at Neighborhood Watch, looked sick. "She cried at our meeting," Yvonne said. Real tears. She talked about her father slipping away. "How could I have been so stupid?" "You weren't stupid," Jacob said. "You were kind." She used that. "What do you need from us?" Stan asked. "Statements. Written accounts of what Sherry told you. Dates and times if you remember them. And I need you to start questioning it publicly. Tell people you talked to me that you're not sure the story holds up. Plant seeds of doubt. You're not going to confront her directly?" Perry asked. Jacob smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Oh, I am. But not yet. First, I'm going to let her think she's winning." Over the next week, Jacob executed phase 1. He started forgetting things. Small things at first. He'd ask Joyce what day it was when she just told him. He'd leave cabinet doors open, tools in wrong places. At the construction office, he'd ask his foreman, Angelo Morton, about schedules he'd already discussed. Angelo, who'd known Jacob for 20 years, caught on after the second incident. "Boss, what the hell are you doing?" Jacob told him. Angelo's expression went from confused to furious to grimly satisfied. "You're setting a trap." "I'm laying foundation," Jacob corrected. "I need her confident. I need Mitchell confident. People make mistakes when they think they've already won." He also hired a private investigator, a woman named Kelly Clay, who specialized in fraud cases. Her job: follow Sherry and Mitchell, document everything, find out exactly what their plan was. The reports came back detailed and damning. Mitchell was meeting with investors, shady ones with histories of hostile takeovers and asset stripping. The plan wasn't to run Hutchins Construction better. It was to liquidate it. Sell the equipment, the contracts, the property, everything. Take the money and disappear. Sherry was in on every meeting. Kelly provided photos. Sherry and Mitchell at a restaurant with 2 men in expensive suits. Papers spread across the table. Sherry and Mitchell at a bank, leaving with a safety deposit box key. Sherry and Mitchell apartment hunting in Miami, looking at penthouses neither of them could afford. Yet, but the most interesting discovery came from Kelly's deep dive into their communications. She'd managed to access Mitchell's email through methods Jacob didn't ask about. They had a timeline. Get conservatorship established within 8 weeks. Transfer business assets to a shell corporation Mitchell controlled. Liquidate within 3 months. By New Year's, it was now late October. Jacob had time, but not much. He called a meeting with Andre, Kelly, Angelo, and Stan. In his study, with Joyce present, he laid out the plan. They want to play the long game? Fine. I'm going to play it better. Here's how this ends. Sherry and Mitchell don't just lose. They face consequences. Real ones. Legal ones. You want to prosecute? Andre asked. I want them to confess to attempted fraud in front of witnesses in a way that can't be disputed. I want them to incriminate themselves so thoroughly that there's no way out. Ow! Stan asked. Jacob pulled out a blueprint, literally a construction blueprint, but modified. He'd drawn a timeline, a strategy, a trap. Mitchell thinks he's running a con. Sherry thinks she's smarter than her old man. They're about to learn they're both wrong. He pointed to the timeline. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to have a breakthrough episode. Something public, something that makes their case stronger. Then I'm going to do something that will make Mitchell and Sherry move up their timeline. Make them desperate. What? Joyce asked. Jacob smiled. I'm going to sign over my company. To someone they don't know about. Chapter 4. The Explosion. The episode happened at the Riverside Diner on a busy Saturday morning, 2 weeks into November. Jacob had chosen the location carefully. Public, full of witnesses, people who knew him. He arrived at 8 a.m. with Joyce, ordered his usual breakfast. Stan Lake was 3 booths over, positioned to watch. Angelo sat at the counter, both ready for the performance. At 8:23 a.m., Jacob stood up in the middle of the diner and started yelling. Where is it? Where's my wallet? Someone stole my wallet. Joyce reached for his arm. Jacob, honey, it's right there. In your jacket. Jacob pulled away. Don't lie to me. I know what He stopped, looked around at the staring faces, then down at his jacket. Slowly, he reached into the pocket and pulled out his wallet. The confusion on his face was perfect, practiced in the mirror at home. I thought. He sat down heavily. Joyce held his hand, and he could see real tears in her eyes. She knew this was an act, but the emotion was real. This was what it would look like if he really was losing his mind. Around them, the diner hummed with whispers. By noon, half the town knew Jacob Hutchins had had a public breakdown. By 2 p.m., Sherry called. Jacob let it go to voicemail. Dad, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. I know we fought, but I'm still your daughter. Please, let me help. Call me back. He didn't, but he knew she'd heard exactly what he wanted her to hear. The trap was baited. That night, Jacob executed phase 2. He met with Andre at the law office after hours. With them was a man named Lorenzo Berry, 55, a construction foreman who'd worked for Jacob for 18 years. Lorenzo was more than an employee. He was family. His kids called Jacob Uncle Jake. You're sure about this? Lorenzo asked, reading the document Andre had prepared. Completely. On paper, you're now the owner of Hutchins Construction. Transferred for $1 and other considerations. Legitimate, legal, notarized. But not real, Lorenzo said. Real enough that it'll show up in any record search. There's a clause buried in page 8 that nullifies the transfer under specific conditions. Conditions I control. But Sherry won't read that far. She'll see the surface transfer and panic. Andre slid the papers across the desk. This is some next-level strategy. Jacob, you're essentially creating a decoy target. Mitchell wants my company. I'm giving him one that doesn't exist anymore on paper. When he makes his move, he'll be trying to steal something I don't own. That's fraud with evidence. They signed. Andre filed the paperwork with the county that night, made sure it would be publicly searchable by Monday morning. Jacob went home, where Joyce was waiting. Did it work? The diner thing? Perfectly. Half the town saw me lose it. The other half heard about it. Joyce sat beside him on the couch. I hate this. I hate that our daughter turned into someone who'd do this. She made her choices. Jacob's voice was harder than he intended. He softened it. I know you want to believe she's being manipulated by Mitchell. Maybe she was at first. But those emails Kelly found? Sherry wrote some of them. She's been planning this, active participant. Whatever she was, whoever we raised, that person's gone. Joyce was quiet for a long time. When this is over, we lost her anyway, didn't you? We lost her when she decided I was worth more as an incompetent meal ticket than as her father. Monday morning, Kelly called. They took the bait. Mitchell ran a property search this morning, found the transfer. I'm watching him right now through long-range camera. He's on the phone, pacing, looks pissed. Good. Keep watching. Sherry called that afternoon. Jacob answered this time. Dad, we need to talk. I know things have been rough, but family is family. Can I come over tonight? Why now, Sherry? A pause. Because I was wrong. About everything. I want to apologize. Please. Jacob almost believed her. The desperation in her voice was real enough. But he knew what had changed. The company was no longer in his name. Their timeline was destroyed. Come at 7, he said. Just you. She arrived at 6:53, punctual as always. She looked tired, less polished. Jacob let her in, and they sat in the living room. Joyce excused herself. They'd agreed she shouldn't be there for this part. I'm sorry, Dad. Sherry's eyes were red. I let Mitchell convince me that you weren't capable, that I needed to take control for your own good. But after what happened at the diner, I realized I was wrong. You need help, real help, and I should have been supporting you instead of trying to take over. Jacob let the silence stretch. She was good. If he didn't know better, he'd believe every word. You transferred the company, Sherry said finally, to Lorenzo Berry. How did you know that? I've been keeping track, making sure you weren't making bad decisions. I saw the filing. She leaned forward. Dad, Lorenzo's a good man, but he doesn't know how to run a business. He can't handle the paperwork, the contracts, the liability. You made that transfer when you weren't thinking clearly. Let me help you undo it, for your sake and for the workers. Why do you care about the company, Sherry? You said I was running it into the ground. She flinched. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. Or you meant every word. And now you're panicking because the asset you want to steal is no longer accessible. Sherry's mask cracked. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to save your con. Mitchell's investors are getting impatient, aren't they? Your timeline's broken. You can't get conservatorship over me if I don't. She stood. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Jacob remained seated, calm. Here's what I know. You and Mitchell Christian, born Mitchell Christian Burke, by the way, check his record, have been planning to have me declared incompetent, seize my business, liquidate it, and disappear with the money. You spent 3 months spreading lies, manipulating neighbors, building a false narrative. The diner incident? That was me, Sherry. Acting. Giving you exactly what you wanted to see, so you'd get sloppy. Sherry's face went white. You're paranoid. You're sick. I have medical documentation from last week proving I'm completely sound. I have witness statements from everyone you lied to. I have your emails, your bank records, your apartment searches in Miami. I have everything. She sank back into the chair. For a long moment, she didn't speak. What do you want? She finally asked. I want you to understand that you lost. Completely. You can't prove anything. Those emails are private. Illegally obtained, yes. Can't use them in court. But I don't need to. Want to know why? Sherry's eyes narrowed. Jacob smiled. Because you're going to confess. On record. In front of witnesses. And you're going to do it willingly. You're insane. No, I'm strategic. See, Mitchell doesn't know the transfer to Lorenzo has a nullification clause. He doesn't know I can reverse it with a single signature. He thinks the company is actually Lorenzo's now. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Mitchell that I'm willing to meet with both of you, that I'm confused and might be open to undoing the transfer if approached right. You're going to set up a meeting for tomorrow night. And at that meeting, in front of witnesses with recording equipment, you're both going to try to convince me to sign over my company. Why will we do that? Because Mitchell's desperate. His investors are backing out. You've seen the messages Kelly showed me. They want results or they walk. This is his last shot, and he'll take it. And you'll help him because you've burned every other bridge. Sherry stood again. And if we don't, then I go to the police with everything I have. Andre's already prepared the fraud charges. Stan Lake is ready to testify. Even if the emails are inadmissible, your lies to the neighbors aren't. You'll face charges, maybe not prison, but your reputation, your career, gone. Mitchell's background will be exposed. Every person you con will come forward. You destroy your own daughter. Jacob stood now, stepped closer. You tried to destroy me first. You wanted to lock me in a facility while you stole everything I built. Don't talk to me about family, Sherry. You gave that up when you looked at me and saw a payday instead of father. Sherry's face twisted. You were never going to give me anything. You were going to work until you died, hold on to that company with both hands, and leave me with scraps. I deserve more. You deserve what you earned. You chose not to earn it. She left without another word. Jacob watched through the window as she got in her car, sat there for 5 minutes before driving away. Joyce came downstairs. Did it work? We'll know tomorrow. Either they take the bait or they run. Either way, we win. Chapter 5, The Wire. The meeting was set for 7 p.m. Tuesday at the Hutchins construction office. Mitchell had called that morning, voice smooth as ever, suggesting they work together to find a solution that benefited everyone. Jacob had agreed, playing the confused older man perfectly. By 6 p.m., the office was wired. Kelly had installed 3 hidden cameras and 4 audio recorders, all feeding to a laptop in the back office where Stan Lake and Andre Evans waited. The equipment was legal. It was Jacob's property, and single-party consent applied in their state. Lorenzo was there too, playing his role. "You sure about this?" he asked Jacob. "Once we get them on record, there's no going back." There's already no going back. At 6:58 p.m., Sherry and Mitchell arrived together. Mitchell wore an expensive suit, Sherry a conservative dress. They looked like professionals, like concerned family members. Jacob met them in the conference room, Lorenzo beside him. "Thank you for meeting with us," Mitchell began, his smile warm. "I know things have been difficult, Jacob. May I call you Jacob? You can call me Mr. Hutchins." Mitchell's smile tightened slightly. "Mr. Hutchins, of course. Sherry's told me how confused you've been lately. The incident at the diner must have been frightening." "What incident?" Sherry and Mitchell exchanged a look. Perfect. On camera, it would look like shared concern. Jacob knew better. "Dad," Sherry said gently, "you had an episode. You thought your wallet was stolen. Don't you remember?" Jacob let his eyes cloud with uncertainty. There was something. Maybe. This is why we're worried," Mitchell continued. "You transferred your company to Mr. Barry here under unclear circumstances. We think you may not have fully understood what you were signing." "Lorenzo's a good man," Jacob said. "I trust him." "Of course you do. But Mr. Barry, no offense, you're not a business manager. This company needs professional oversight. Sherry and I have been working with some excellent consultants who could help you both." "You mean the investors who want to liquidate the company and sell off the assets?" Jacob's voice sharpened. Mitchell blinked. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" Jacob pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. "Kelmont Group. Vanguard Asset Management. Both known for hostile takeovers. Both meeting with you last week." Mitchell's smooth facade cracked. "You've been following me?" "I've been protecting myself." Sherry leaned forward. "Dad, you're paranoid. That's another symptom. We're trying to help. By having me declared incompetent? By stealing my company? That kind of help. No one's trying to steal anything." Sherry's voice rose. "You're sick. You can't see it, but everyone else can. The neighbors see it. Your workers see it. Mom sees it. Your mother sees you for exactly what you are." The conference room door opened. Joyce walked in, followed by Stan Lake in uniform and Andre Evans carrying a briefcase. Mitchell stood. "What is this?" "This," Jacob said, "is where you confess." "We're not confessing anything," Sherry said, but her voice shook. Stan moved to the door, blocking the exit. Andre placed a recorder on the table, an obvious one this time. "You don't need to," Jacob said. "You already did. Everything you've said since walking in here has been recorded. Video and audio. Admissible in court." Mitchell's face went from smooth to desperate. "You can't. That's entrapment. It's my property. My equipment. Single-party consent state. Perfectly legal." Andre's voice was calm. "You walked in here intending to convince a man you believe to be mentally incompetent to sign over his business. That's fraud, Mr. Burke. Or should I say Mr. Christian Burke? Your real name." Sherry looked at Mitchell. "What's he talking about?" "Tell her," Jacob said. "Tell her about Nevada. About the elderly couple who lost their home. About the real estate scam. Tell her who you really are, Mitchell." Mitchell's composure shattered. He grabbed his phone. "I want my lawyer." "Good idea," Stan said. "You're going to need one." Sherry was shaking. "Mitchell, what is he talking about?" "Your boyfriend," Jacob said, "is a professional con artist. He found you, targeted you, convinced you to help him steal from me. You thought you were the mastermind, Sherry. You were just another mark." The blood drained from Sherry's face. No, we planned this together." "Did you? Or did he plant every idea, feed every resentment, turn you into a weapon against your own father. Mitchell moved toward the door, but Stan blocked him. Sit down, Mr. Burke. I'm leaving. You can't hold me. Actually, I can. We have enough for an arrest right now. Attempted fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse. Andre pulled documents from his briefcase. Witness statements. Medical reports proving Jacob is completely competent. Records of your lies to the community. Sherry's meetings with investors. Your criminal background. And now, thanks to tonight, recorded evidence of you attempting to manipulate a business transfer through deception. Mitchell sat, slowly. Sherry was crying now, real tears this time. Daddy, You thought I was weak. You thought I was easy to manipulate. You thought wrong. Joyce moved beside Jacob, took his hand. Together, they watched their daughter break. Here's what happens now, Jacob said. Mitchell, you're going to be arrested. You're going to face charges for fraud, and your past is going to be part of that record. Nevada's going to be very interested to know where you've been. Stan pulled out handcuffs. Sherry, you have a choice. You can face charges as a co-conspirator, or you can cooperate fully. Testify against Mitchell. Admit everything to the neighbors you lied to. Sign a legal document renouncing any claim to my business or estate. Seek professional help. Maybe in a few years, we could talk about rebuilding. Maybe. You're giving her an out? Mitchell spat. She was in this as deep as me. She's my daughter, Jacob said quietly. And unlike you, I don't give up on family. But Sherry, hear me, this is the only chance you get. Refuse it, and you go down with him. Sherry looked at Mitchell, then at her father. The calculation was visible on her face, the same cold analysis that had started this whole nightmare. I'll testify, she whispered. I'll do everything you said. Mitchell lunged, but Stan was faster. The handcuffs clicked on. You bitch. We had a plan. You used me. Sherry screamed. You said we were partners. You were never my partner. You were a tool. A stupid, greedy tool. Stan pulled Mitchell toward the door. That's enough. Let's go. As Stan led Mitchell away, his voice echoed down the hall. This isn't over, Hutchins. I'll fight this. Good luck with that, Andre called after him. The room went quiet except for Sherry's crying. Joyce released Jacob's hand and sat beside their daughter, not touching, just present. I'm sorry, Sherry sobbed. I'm so sorry. Jacob didn't respond. He gathered the documents, the recordings, the evidence of his daughter's betrayal. Sorry wasn't enough. It might never be enough. But watching Mitchell led away in handcuffs, knowing the truth was recorded and documented, knowing he'd protected everything he'd built, that was something. Chapter 6, The Aftermath. The arrest made local news. Investment consultant arrested for fraud, read the headline. Mitchell Christian Burke's mugshot appeared alongside his real name, his Nevada record, and a brief summary of the charges. Jacob sat in his office the next morning, reading the article on his computer. His phone hadn't stopped ringing. Workers checking in, neighbors calling to apologize, clients wanting to make sure the business was stable. Angelo knocked on the door frame. Boss, you got a minute? Always. Angelo sat, looking uncomfortable. The guys want to know what's going on. There's rumors about Sherry, about you being sick, about the company being sold. I've been deflecting, but they deserve the truth. Jacob nodded. Call a meeting. Everyone. Noon today. I'll explain everything. At noon, all 63 employees of Hutchins Construction crowded into the warehouse space. Framers, electricians, plumbers, office staff, project managers. Jacob stood on a work table so everyone could see him. Most of you have heard rumors, he began. Some of you have heard I'm sick, that I have Alzheimer's, that the company was being sold. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, because you've all earned the truth. He laid it out, simplified but honest. The lies, the con, the arrest. He didn't spare his daughter, but he didn't dwell on her either. The company is secure. It always was. The transfer to Lorenzo was a legal strategy, and it's already been reversed. Your jobs are safe. Your contracts are safe. We're going to keep building, keep growing at our pace, and keeping the company we've always been. The relief in the room was palpable. A young carpenter named Dustin Conley raised his hand. Mr. Hutchins? I'm sorry we believed it. Some of us did. We should have trusted you. You believed what you were told by someone who seemed trustworthy. That's not a failure. That's being human. What matters is how we move forward from here. After the meeting, Jacob spent the afternoon doing what he'd always done. Reviewing projects, checking budgets, solving problems. Normal work. Grounding work. At 4 p.m., Andre called. Mitchell Burke made bail. His lawyer's already filing motions, but with his record and the evidence we have, they're going nowhere. He'll take a plea deal within 6 weeks. I'd bet my license on it. And Sherry, she's cooperating. Gave a full statement this morning. She's been making calls to the neighbors, admitting the lies. It's not pleasant to watch. I didn't ask her to do that for pleasant reasons. Fair enough. One more thing. The investors Mitchell was working with? They've scattered. Turned out they were using shell companies that don't exist in any legal sense. If you'd actually signed anything with them, you'd have had no recourse. This could have been so much worse, Jacob. I know. That's why I didn't let it get that far. That evening, Jacob found Joyce in the garden, tending to the roses that would die soon in the coming cold. Sherry called. Joyce said without looking up. She wants to know if she can come by. To talk. What did you tell her? That I'd ask you. Jacob considered it. 3 weeks ago, he'd have said no immediately. Now, he wasn't sure. Not yet, he finally said. Maybe after the legal proceedings are done. Maybe after she's proven she's serious about changing. But not yet. Joyce nodded. I'm proud of you, for how you handled this. For being smarter than them. I'm not proud. I'm angry. I'm sad. Our daughter tried to destroy me. I know. Joyce finally looked at him. But you didn't let her. And you gave her a chance to make it right, even though you didn't have to. That's the man I married. That's the father she forgot you were. Jacob pulled his wife close. In the fading light, they stood together in the garden they'd planted 20 years ago, survivors of a war they'd never wanted to fight. Chapter 7. The Dominoes Fall. 6 weeks later, Mitchell Christian Burke stood in a courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit and defeated expression. His expensive lawyer had convinced him that fighting the charges was pointless. The plea deal was harsh. 5 years in state prison, full restitution to Jacob for legal fees, and a permanent record that would follow him forever. The Nevada charges were being reopened. The elderly couple he'd scammed years ago would finally see justice. Jacob sat in the gallery with Stan, watching. He felt no triumph, no satisfaction. Just a cold confirmation that actions had consequences. The judge accepted the plea. Mr. Burke, you targeted vulnerable people for profit. You showed no remorse until confronted with undeniable evidence. This sentence reflects the severity of your crimes. Bailiff, remand the defendant. Mitchell was led away. He didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, a reporter from the local paper approached Jacob. Mr. Hutchins, how does it feel to see your daughter's boyfriend go to prison? He wasn't her boyfriend. He was a predator who used her. And it feels like justice was done. That's all I have to say. The reporter persisted. Will you reconcile with your daughter? Jacob walked away without answering. That night, Sherry's written confession was published in the local newspaper. Not required by her plea agreement, but something she'd insisted on. It was thorough, humiliating, and brutally honest. I allowed greed and resentment to turn me into someone I despise. I lied about my father, a good man who never deserved what I tried to do to him. I manipulated friends and neighbors, violated trust, and nearly destroyed my family. I take full responsibility. I'm seeking therapy and will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want people to know the truth. Angelo called Jacob after reading it. That took guts. Guts or strategy, Jacob said. Either way, it's done. The following week, Jacob held a neighborhood barbecue. Every family he'd visited during his investigation came. Stan brought his fishing buddies. Yvonne brought the whole neighborhood watch. Even Rachel Dunbar showed up, apologetic and embarrassed. I should have questioned it, Rachel said. I should have known you better. You know me now, Jacob replied. That's what matters. As the sun set over his backyard, Jacob surveyed the gathering. These people had believed lies about him, yes. But they'd also listened to the truth when he presented it. They'd given statements, supported him, stood beside him. This was the community he'd built, not just the business, but the life around it. And it had survived. Chapter 8. The Last Move. 3 months after Mitchell's sentencing, on a cold February morning, Jacob received an email from an address he didn't recognize. The subject line read, "I understand now." He opened it carefully, half expecting malware. It was from Sherry. "Dad, I've spent 3 months in therapy. Real therapy, the kind where you can't hide or make excuses. My therapist asked me to write down every lie I told about you. It took 11 pages. Mitchell didn't make me do this. He gave me permission to do what I already wanted to do, blame you for my own failures. I lost my job because I was bad at it, not because of office politics. I moved home because I had nowhere else to go, not to help you. I saw your success and felt entitled to it without earning it. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm writing because my therapist says I need to own every piece of what I did, and that includes admitting this. You were a good father. You taught me to work hard, to be honest, to earn what I have. I rejected every lesson because it was easier to be angry than to be accountable. I'll spend the rest of my life regretting what I did. Not because I got caught, because I hurt someone I loved. I don't expect to hear back from you. Sherry." Jacob read it 3 times. Joyce read it once, then set the laptop aside. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think she's in therapy. I think she's saying what she needs to say to heal. I don't know if it's real or if it's performative. Do you care?" Jacob thought about that. "I don't know. Part of me wants to believe she's changed. Part of me knows that even if she has, it doesn't erase what she did. Are you going to respond?" "Not yet. Maybe not ever. She said she doesn't expect to hear back. I'll honor that." 2 weeks later, Lorenzo came to Jacob with news. Sherry applied for a job. Jacob looked up from his desk. "What?" "She sent a resume to our general employment email for an entry-level project coordinator position." Angelo flagged it before anyone else saw it. Jacob took the printed resume. It was professional, sparse. No embellishments, no exaggerations. At the bottom, a note: "I understand if this application is immediately rejected. I'm applying because I want to learn the business the right way. If there's even a chance, I'm willing to earn it." "What do you think?" Lorenzo asked. "I think she's either genuinely trying to change or playing a very long game. Which do you believe?" Jacob stared at the resume for a long moment. His daughter's name at the top. The daughter who'd tried to destroy him. The daughter who'd written 11 pages of lies she'd told about him. "I believe people can change," Jacob said finally. "I also believe that some betrayals can't be undone. The question is which truth is stronger." He picked up a red pen, wrote a single word across the top of the resume: "Interview." "Give her an appointment," Jacob said. "Not with me. With Angelo and Lorenzo. Let them decide if she's serious. If she passes their test, she can start at the bottom. Minimum wage, no special treatment, no family privileges. She works her way up or she fails on her own merit. And if she fails, then she fails. But I won't be the reason why. She wants a chance to earn redemption? Fine, but she'll actually have to earn it." Chapter 9. Foundation. 6 months after that interview, Sherry Hutchins worked in the Hutchins Construction Supply Warehouse, inventory management. She arrived before everyone else and left after most had gone. She ate lunch alone. She didn't ask for favors. Jacob watched from a distance, receiving reports from Angelo and Lorenzo. She was competent, quiet, professional. No complaints, no drama, just work. They didn't speak during those 6 months. Passed each other in hallways without acknowledgement. It was painful for Joyce, who saw them both separately, who carried messages neither asked her to carry. On the 7th month, Jacob assigned Sherry to a project team that needed an additional coordinator. It was a small residential job, a renovation for an elderly veteran named Bill Henry, a friend of Stan's. The project went smoothly. Bill called Jacob personally to thank him. "That young woman on your team, the coordinator, she went above and beyond. Found me resources for veterans' home modifications I didn't know existed. Saved me thousands." Jacob said thank you and hung up. That afternoon, he found Sherry in the warehouse. "You did good work on the Henry project." She looked up, surprise clear on her face. "Thank you." Silence stretched between them. 7 months of silence. Actually, 7 months of careful distance. I'm not going to forget what you did, Jacob said finally. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. I know, but I'm also not going to punish you forever for trying to fix it. If you keep working like this, honestly, competently, without expecting special treatment, there might be a place for you here. Really here. Not because you're my daughter. Because you earned it. Sherry's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. I don't deserve. No, you don't. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is what you do from here. Jacob turned to leave, then stopped. Your mother wants us to have dinner. Just the 3 of us. Next Sunday, if you're willing. I'd like that, Sherry said quietly. I'd like that very much. That Sunday, they sat around the same table where Jacob had confronted her months ago. Joyce had cooked pot roast, the same meal Sherry had made the night Jacob discovered her betrayal. The conversation was stilted at first. Careful. They talked about work, about the weather, about anything except the wound still healing between them. But near the end of the meal, Sherry set down her fork. I need to say something. I know I've apologized before, but I need to say it again here in this house. Dad, I'm sorry. Not because I'm afraid or because I want something. I'm sorry because you deserve better. You deserved a daughter who saw your strength and learned from it instead of one who saw it as something to exploit. I can't change what I did. I can only try to be different going forward. Jacob met his daughter's eyes. He saw remorse there, genuine and deep. But he also saw something else. Acceptance that some things can't be fixed, only survived. I'm not there yet, he said honestly. I'm not ready to say everything's okay. But I'm willing to see where this goes. One day at a time. That's more than I deserve, Sherry said. Yes, Jacob agreed. It is. Joyce reached across the table, took both their hands. Then we start from here. The next morning, Jacob arrived at the office early, as always. He unlocked the door, turned on the lights, made coffee. Through the window, he watched the sun rise over the building he'd bought, the business he'd built, the legacy he'd protected. His phone buzzed. A text from Angelo. New project just came in. Big one. Commercial complex. You want me to assign it? Jacob smiled and texted back. Assign your best team. Make sure they earn it. He sat at his desk, pulled up the project files, and got to work. The same work he'd been doing for 30 years. Building things. Solving problems. Creating something that would last. Sherry had tried to take it from him. She'd failed. Mitchell had tried to con him. He'd failed. They'd both learned the same lesson. Jacob Hutchins was no one's victim. He was a builder, a fighter, a man who protected what mattered. And what mattered was still standing. Outside, trucks pulled into the lot. Workers clocked in. The day began, as it always did, with the sound of construction, hammering, sawing, the noise of creation. Jacob took a sip of coffee, opened the first file, and smiled. Foundation first. Always foundation first. Then you build everything else. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.